Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on this webinar. I am Enoch Mofikwe, Training and Development Practitioner for Geotab Africa. In today's webinar, I will be talking about Geotab's Driver Safety Scorecard. Geotab is an expert in fleet industry with 25 years experience and going stronger. Now, looking at the timeline, you can easily see how Geotab has managed to grow and become the strongest telematics provider globally. While Geotab is making such a huge impact in the fleet industry worldwide, it offers a flexible platform for partners through Geotab's Marketplace, allowing you to tailor the solution to your organizational needs. And Geotab is a leading brand with over 2 million devices in operation, over 40 billion data points processed daily, that has seen Geotab gaining international awards and recognition. So Geotab is all about reliability, security, and big data with almost 170 million kilometers driven daily, with a footprint spreading more than half of Africa and with a presence on all 7 continents. So Geotab focuses on 6 pillars of innovation, being productivity, making sure all your assets are working properly and being productive. The safety pillar, you want to make sure your drivers are driving safely, reducing on overall costs. Fleet optimization, it assists with vehicle maintenance and ensuring that company vehicles are taken care of. Expandability, expand your fleet management solution add-ons. We have Marketplace, the Geotab Marketplace, like I said, and with compliance pillar, are the drivers complying with industry and business rules as well as regulations? And then sustainability, all in all, it assists to reduce total CO2 emissions from things like idling time and saving money for the business. Now, in today's webinar, we will be focusing on the safety scorecard. However, there are several other scorecards that can be used to measure driver and vehicle performance using a predefined category. In terms of the productivity pillar, late starts can be measured using the base time card report. And fleet managers can also look at data around time spent on the road versus the time spent at a client. The utilization scorecard can assist in measuring engine on time and therefore the over or underutilization of a vehicle. And in terms of the fleet optimization pillar, the engine report used to measure engine lights on can determine drivers neglecting the engine light, the duration of the time that they are ignoring it, and the subsequent impact on the vehicle all in all. However, the safety scorecard is the #1 scorecard used by fleets for overall risk management. It is extremely effective in assisting fleet managers to be proactive in reducing fleet risks. By adding a cost to a specific driver behavior, for example, wear and tear on tires, from harsh braking or cornering, the report can become a tool in measuring return on investment. The Driver Safety Scorecard is a free custom report available to all Geotab users in My Geotab. It is a useful tool in evaluating drivers and ensuring best fleet practices all in all. It was designed to complement any driver safety program that a business has in place already. And the driver scorecard is not solely about driver behavior. It can be used to identify lower productivity, engine health risks, as well as compliance violations. Now, these factors can have a severe impact on a company's bottom line. The Driver Safety Scorecard focuses on 3 elements of unsafe driving, being aggressive driving, seatbelt usage, as well as speeding. Under aggressive driving, we're looking at things like harsh acceleration, hard braking, or harsh cornering, for example. And under speeding, we're referring to regular speeding on the road and excessive speeding, which is speeding above an X amount of kilometers per hour. Now, how it works, the Go device logs these events and uses conditional thresholds to determine the presence of aggressive driving. As a vehicle experiences jolting from hard acceleration, maybe, or exertion from harsh braking and side-to-side movement from harsh cornering. Now, the Go device transmits these data points to Geotab's store and forwards it to our servers for processing. And then the data is then pointed to a My Geotab database where fleets can leverage accelerometer data-based exception rules and turn them into actionable coaching opportunities. All right. Now, what you're seeing here on the slides is the exception rules. Just to break it down, exception rules are the criteria used to measure drivers' safety performance. And having appropriate exception rule conditions is vital for the scorecard's effectiveness. The report requires 6 exception rules and specifies exactly which rules are needed. However, thresholds and conditions within these exception rules are at the discretion of the fleet. Now, we also recommend using custom or advanced exception rules, particular to the fleet's needs and coaching opportunities. In terms of advanced exception rules, the required excessive speeding rule is not a default exception rule and must be created as a custom exception rule. For example, as you can see in the slide, you can choose what is an excessive speeding limit to your organization and your environment, all right? And in terms of the rules that I'm referring to, we've got what we call exception rule weights. Now, while exception rules are required, each rule's weight is user defined, all right? Allowing each rule to reflect its importance to the fleet. As the performance improves in one area, the focus may shift to another and the weights can be then adjusted. Any weight can be applied to any rule as long as the total is equal to 100, as you can see at the bottom of this rule block over here. The exception risk classification in the block just on the right-hand side. This is where the driver safety scorecard report gives fleets the ability to set scoring ranges that coincide with each risk classification. Now, it is important to fairly calibrate the risk classification ranges to accurately reflect each driver's level of risk. The 4 risk classifications are low risk, identified in the green, mild risk, medium risk, and lastly, your high risk in the red over there. Each driver receives a score ranging from 0 to 100 based on their behavior, or their driving behavior rather. And the default ranges identify a driver as high risk if their overall score falls below 60. Now, this is a snapshot of how the safety scorecard looks like on My Geotab. Easy to read visuals and graphical information, easy to pull reports in Excel mode. It is important to factor in vehicle class when setting up these exception rules in order to account for G-force threshold. Now, fleets can use the default performance thresholds arranged by vehicle class to easily and accurately configure each accelerometer-based exception rule. Now, what this means is mixed fleets can be grouped to account for different vehicle classes. Different driver safety scorecards can be created per group of vehicle, okay? And then this is basically, ladies and gentlemen, a summary of calculations and how they are applied. The calculation methods are based on number 1, event count, violation percentage, as well as hybrid method. Now, in terms of the event count, this is how many times a rule was broken, like hard acceleration, harsh braking, harsh cornering, or even excessive speeding. Where violation percentage focuses on how many times in a driving event this rule was broken. How many times the driver broke the speed exception rule, for example. Now, the hybrid is a combination of the above. And we see it adds weight to each method, for example, with things like your seatbelt. Now, ensuring every driver is measured on the same scale, regardless of distance driven for the specified time period. Now, let's have a look at some calculation definitions at the bottom of the slide. Total driving distance means the total distance traveled in any set period. Exception rule event count. This is the total count of exception rule events, where exception rule event distance is the distance traveled while breaking an exception rule. Okay. The exception rule event percentage is the exception rule event distance divided by the total distance. And lastly, the multiplier is a multiplication factor used to normalize, calibrate, and score exception rule data out of 100. Okay, so there was the calculation methods. Now, let's highlight the purpose of driver safety scorecards. Now, all in all, the driver safety scorecard will assist the business to increase driver safety, identifying risky drivers, as well as recognizing safer drivers. Now, this is where it can be now used as a positive reinforcement tool instead actually of a punishing tool. It is going to be used to reinforce the entire fleet, your drivers. Again, the scorecard will assist to reduce possible accidents, improve insurance rates, enhance internal safety policies, and it will also assist fleet managers to mitigate potential for traffic violations, lower vehicle maintenance costs, as well as curb employee benefits costs, and lastly, to minimize on vehicle downtime, meaning to minimize on unproductivity of your vehicles. All right, so at the bottom of the slide is a snapshot of the driver safety scorecard report, which we will look at shortly. So just to go through some of the features of the scorecard, on the top left, we see the average fleet score. It gives the average fleet safety score for all vehicles or drivers. This helps to gauge your fleet's overall safety performance in relation to risk classification expectations. Now, these can be found at the bottom on the report tab of the driver safety scorecard report. And then the risk breakdown, this is the micro risk breakdown graph, and it offers a visual breakdown of risk based on the risk classification exceptions across the entire fleet. Graphs display the top 10 as well as the bottom 10 vehicles or drivers. Also included is a differential. It displays the difference between the average score of the top 10 performers and the average score of the bottom 10 performers. It highlights the degree of disparity between the best and the worst performing drivers in the fleet. This information provides insight into how to apply driver coaching and where are the areas of improvement for training and coaching. The same methods of training may be used if the differential is not large. The driver safety scorecard is a free solution available, like I said, to all geotabs in my geotab. You can pull the template from Marketplace, and this is how it will look. So here you have the download button that pulls the template, and while you are on the page, you will get the description of the scorecard explaining what the report does and does not do. So it will take you around the do's and the don'ts. Also included are some images and videos about the scorecard that you can watch, some instructions and additional resources that will guide you. Now, I'm just going to drop a link in the chat box below, and this is the link that you guys can use to go onto Marketplace, add in, and you can copy the link and take some time to see the driver safety scorecard template and how it looks. All right. Now, looking at the template, this is how your driver scorecard report is going to look like. And with the information that is provided, we see things like the date range that you can select. It will also indicate the overall mileage covered by the fleet for the specified date that you have selected, as well as the total number of fleet occurrences within the date that you have selected. And then on the right-hand side, under the average fleet score, this is an overall indication of where your fleet stands. And at this present moment, with the information we're seeing, it basically falls under high risk, an indication or a caution sign for fleet managers to try and identify the contributing factors to the score. All right, now looking at vehicle number one, we see that we have the total distance covered in the set period, depending on what period you select. The total score being 28.0. And remember, we mentioned any score below 60 will be classified or tell it as high risk. And over here, here's the basic classification, high risk. As we move along on the graph, we've got hard acceleration, harsh braking, as well as harsh cornering, where we see that the driver is not really doing that bad. However, when we look at the seatbelt, the speeding, as well as the excessive speeding, we see the driver scoring 0, and this could be the contributing factor to why he is now classified as a high risk. This is the area where fleet managers can now focus on in terms of training and coaching. The driver safety scorecard is one of the most overlooked costs of operation in a fleet. Now, ensuring fleet safety is upheld has a direct impact on the business profitability, as you can see on the slide. A fleet's productivity is significantly impacted when vehicles have to undergo replacements or maintenance repairs. And beyond the impact to assets, administrative costs can quickly add up when the employee or your employees is unable to work. Fleet telematics can be used to improve fleet safety performance, from real-time audible alerts to actionable information empowered by detailed reporting. Telematics offers a wide spectrum of safety performance tools for all types of fleets. Now, so ladies and gents, just to conclude our presentation, the driver safety scorecard, as mentioned, is a useful tool for any fleet-based organization where, again, it's going to basically highlight or assist the organization in increasing driver safety. In other words, bringing down speeding and things like aggressive driving. And these can all have a major wear and tear effect on the assets. It will assist in identifying risky drivers, recognizing those safer drivers. And as mentioned, it should not be viewed as a punishing tool, rather as a positive reinforcement tool for the entire organization, especially the drivers themselves. It will also reduce possible accidents. And lastly, it will help you to sort of predict and mitigate potential for traffic violations. The driver safety scorecard is one of the most overlooked costs of operation in a fleet. Now, ensuring fleet safety is upheld has a direct impact on the business profitability, as you can see on the slide. A fleet's productivity is significantly impacted when vehicles have to undergo replacements or maintenance repairs. And beyond the impact to assets, administrative costs can quickly add up when the employee or your employees is unable to work. Fleet telematics can be used to improve fleet safety performance, from real-time audible alerts to actionable information empowered by detailed reporting. Telematics offers a wide spectrum of safety performance tools for all types of fleets. Now, so ladies and gents, just to conclude our presentation, the driver safety scorecard, as mentioned, is a useful tool for any fleet-based organization where, again, it's going to basically highlight or assist the organization in increasing driver safety. In other words, bringing down speeding and things like aggressive driving. And these can all have a major wear and tear effect on the assets. It will assist in identifying risky drivers, recognizing those safer drivers. And as mentioned, it should not be viewed as a punishing tool, rather as a positive reinforcement tool for the entire organization, especially the drivers themselves. It will also reduce possible accidents. And lastly, it will help you to sort of predict and mitigate potential for traffic violations. While you're going through our scorecard template from the link that I've shared, should you have any questions in future, you can simply drop us an email, or you can call our support team on 011-564-5400. And just to basically also have a look at some of our vast products, or some of the vast products that Geotab has to offer you and your fleet, you can also visit our website. And just ensure that you familiarize yourself with our contact information for future reference as well. So again, from my side, Enoch Mufikwe, I just want to again thank each and everyone for this opportunity. And I just want to say thank you and stay safe.